Hi, I'm Abby from Rtings.com. We've just reviewed the Samsung S90D OLED, and now it's time for the big sibling, the flagship, the Samsung S95D. It replaces last year's S95C as the highest-end model of Samsung's 2024 TV lineup. But how does it stack up against its competition this year? And is it a worthy successor to last year's model? We've bought and tested the 65-inch model, and our results are also valid for the 55 and 77-inch models. At least this one is straightforward with its model and size conventions. So let's jump into it. The Samsung S95D has a truly stellar build quality, with a grooved plastic back and a small but solid metal stand. It wobbles a bit when pushed, but it quickly settles. The stand lifts the display about 3.35 inches from the table, so any soundbar will fit just fine without blocking any part of the screen. Unlike many TVs, the S95D doesn't have any of its inputs on the back. Instead, its inputs are on the external One Connect box, or the OCB, which you connect to the TV using either included cable. One cable is 16.4 inches, while the other is 97, which is nice if you prefer your inputs to be on the other side of the room. You can mount the box on the stand or on the back, which makes the TV look like a regular TV, but you can pretty much place the box anywhere. When you remove the box, the TV has an entirely flat profile with no bump near the bottom. It looks fantastic while mounted, and the inputs are still accessible. There's some flex on the rear plastic panel near the VESA mounting points, but it's common and doesn't cause any problems. All of the TV's ports are on the One Connect box, except for the connector that's alongside a USB 2.0 port. The box itself has 4 HDMI ports, and while all of them support HDMI 2.1 bandwidth, like last year, they're limited to 40 gigabits per second instead of the full 48. In practice, this shouldn't affect you at all, as 40 is fast enough for 10-bit 4K at 144 Hz with no color compression. But last year, there were many reports of connection issues with the One Connect box. It's unclear whether these issues were related to the reduced bandwidth or the box itself. We didn't encounter issues with the box on the S95C during our testing, and similarly, the S95D's One Connect box never dropped out or lost connection during our barrage of tests. The third HDMI port doubles as the eARC port, which can pass through advanced audio formats from Dolby. Sadly, like other Samsung TVs, the S95D doesn't pass through any DTS audio formats. Aside from that, the One Connect box also has 2 USB ports, a digital optical audio out port, a LAN port, and an antenna connection. The TV comes with the 2024 version of Samsung's proprietary Tizen OS. As is expected of Samsung's highest-end 2024 TV, Tizen runs fast and smooth here. Still, it has the same bugs as it does on the S90D. The TV doesn't switch out of PC mode once selected. The label changes, but the TV is still stuck with the same limited feature set of that mode. Again, you can fix it with a restart or by hitting the home button, and we'd be shocked if this wasn't fixed soon with a firmware update. There are ads on this TV, like on any other TV. You can turn off targeted ads, but you can't remove them entirely. We usually like to joke about ads, but gosh, it's just so disappointing to see on a TV this expensive. The S95D comes with the same remote as other Samsung models. It's a great little beast. It's environmentally friendly due to the solar panel on the back, allowing you to charge it by leaving it next to a window. If you don't like the environment, or you're in a hurry, you can use its USB-C port on the bottom. We're big fans of the sun here, so that's what we recommend. There's no numpad, but there are buttons for the most popular streaming services. The remote also has an integrated mic that works with the Bixby and Alexa voice assistants. And so does the TV, so you can use your voice commands however you like. Let's dive into the S95D's image quality. As you would expect from Samsung's highest-end 2024 OLED, blacks on this TV are stellar, deep and inky. It's a standout TV for watching any content in dark rooms, especially as it lacks blooming of any kind due to the self-lit nature of OLEDs. The S95D truly shines, pun intended, in its HDR brightness. But it's also where we encountered some issues. Now, there is no doubt that the S95D is one of the brightest OLEDs ever made. It hits peaks of over 1600 nits in some of our tests. But There's also some clear evidence that Samsung is pushing the S95D extremely hard. Too hard, in fact. The TV gets extremely hot after a few minutes with a sustained 10% white window. We're talking 75 degrees Celsius here, about 167 degrees Fahrenheit. That's hot. As you'd expect, the TV can't stay at that temperature for long, so it soon thermal throttles to cool itself down, completely tanking its brightness in the process. So, while this TV is technically capable of some of the highest levels of brightness ever seen on an OLED, it can't sustain its enormous peaks for very long. Now, is this likely to affect any of you? Truthfully, probably not. In real content, the TV is unlikely to show an extremely bright image for a few minutes like in our test patterns. We also had issues with the S95C last year when it comes to thermal throttling. You have no idea how many retests we did as Samsung kept pumping out firmware update after firmware update. Similarly, we expect this TV to get a lot of updates in the next few months, ironing out most, if not all, of its brightness issues. But for now, it thermal throttles. Let's tackle this TV's second controversy. It's matte coating. Oh boy, this one is a doozy. In case you didn't know, unlike PC monitors, most TVs use a glossy coating. Monitors tend to use a matte or semi-gloss coating. There are many advantages to all of those, but ultimately, matte coatings tend to handle lights better as they diffuse them instead of reflecting them like a mirror. But glossy coatings tend to help with contrast with inkier blacks and more vibrant colors. Or at least, that's how it used to be. Things are changing as manufacturers now provide glossy coatings with fantastic anti-reflective tech. So we now see monitors, and especially OLED monitors, with a glossy screen finish. However, TVs have mostly stuck to glossy coatings, except for Samsung's The Frame 2022 version, and now the S95D. The matte coating of the S95D is divisive, to say the least. You can see how it looks here, so you can make up your own mind. Internally, our opinions are everywhere. Some people love it, some hate it. With some light sources, the matte coating does a fantastic job, effectively eliminating reflections, but at the cost of contrast. Overall, it's excellent at handling reflections, but compared to the S90D and how good that glossy coating is, the move to use a matte coating is a bit perplexing. The S95D has great SDR brightness. Its brightness is dimmed considerably by its automatic brightness limiter, but it stays above 400 nits in almost all content, which is bright enough to overcome glare, especially with that matte coating. The viewing angle on this TV is incredibly wide. It's not technically perfect, but it's very close. It's hard to notice any degradation in image quality, even from extreme angles. The S95D's SDR pre-calibration accuracy is also good. Nothing more, nothing less. It's a bit disappointing considering the purchase cost, but it's good and most people will be satisfied. Still, blues are overrepresented in all shades of white, and this is very noticeable as the TV's color temperature leans way too cold, even with the color temperature setting set to warm 2. The TV is a bit brighter than it should be in almost all content, and again, its whites and cyans lean more towards blue. If you're spending this much on a TV, consider getting it calibrated, as it's stellar once you do. And it's also not very hard to calibrate either. After 1 hour of calibration, the TV's SDR image accuracy is nearly perfect. In HDR, this TV is extremely accurate. Darker shadows and midtones are a bit brighter than the content creator intended, but after that, it hugs the curve very closely until it gets to the TV's peak brightness. For content mastered at 600 and 1000 nits, there is a sharp cutoff when the TV gets to its peak brightness, but it doesn't really matter as the TV is bright enough to display the content. With content mastered at 4000 nits, there's a more gradual roll-off to preserve bright highlights. Man, this TV is colorful. It has an exceptionally wide color gamut and displays the full range of colors in the DCI-P3 space. It's also excellent in the wider Rec 2020 color space, with only some highly saturated colors deviating slightly from what they should be. Like the S90D, this model also has a new color booster feature. The setting oversaturates colors, but it does a surprisingly good job of keeping accuracy within both the DCI-P3 and Rec 2020 color spaces. So if you're willing to sacrifice just a bit of accuracy for an even more vibrant presentation, Samsung has you covered. This TV's low-quality content smoothing is decent. You won't write home to your mom to tell her how great its smoothing is, but it does its job. It preserves details very well, at the cost of some noticeable macro blocking here and there when watching low bitrate content. Now, when it comes to sharpness processing, you might just call your mom. It's very good. Low-resolution content is upscaled well with clear details, even if small, hard-coded text is a little hard to make out. Lately, it feels like all big manufacturers, not named Sony because Sony is already so good, have been doing a lot of work on their image processing, and it shows. This is a good improvement over some of Samsung's past models. If you've seen our S90D video, linked here, then you know what's up. The S95D is an amazing TV, therefore it has stutter. Still, it has a plethora of motion smoothing features that you can enable if the stutter bothers you. Hopefully, you can find a happy medium between reducing stutter without too many motion interpolation artifacts. The TV deals with Judder very well. It automatically removes Judder from all sources when watching movies or shows that are in 24p, even if they're in a 60Hz signal, like when watching content from a cable box. And at this point, it's to be expected of a high-end product. The S95D is a fantastic gaming TV. Its response time is almost instantaneous, which is amazing for fast-moving content. And it'll make all games look better. Of course, because of the sample and hold nature of OLED tech, there's still some persistence blur when gaming at 60Hz, but you're not going to notice that. The TV also has incredibly low input lag in game mode, even when gaming at 60Hz, although of course it's at its lowest at 120 and 144 Hz. Unfortunately, 1440p at 60Hz doesn't work well in game mode, so stay away from that resolution and refresh rate combo and you'll be just fine. This TV supports most common resolutions up to 4K at 144 Hz on all 4 of its HDMI ports. However, it has the same issues in 1440p as the S90D. When disabling scaling from your GPU, the TV sometimes, but not always, displays 1440p at 120 or 144 Hz in a cropped window instead of scaling it to the entire width of the screen. We suspect it to be a software bug since it sometimes works. If so, Samsung should fix it soon with a firmware update. 1440p at 60Hz works fine, and 1440p at 120 Hz works fine when connected to a console instead of a PC. The S95D is fully compatible with everything consoles have to offer, as it does both 1440p at 120 Hz and 4K at 120 Hz with full VRR support. It also supports auto low latency mode, automatically switching to game mode when it detects a console. Dolby Vision gaming on the Xbox consoles is the only thing it can't do. This TV sounds alright. Compared to the S90D, you would figure that added thickness would allow for better sound, but nope, looks like it doesn't. This TV doesn't get loud and doesn't produce much bass, but at least there isn't too much distortion near max volume. The speakers here are fine, nothing special, they work. But if you're spending that much on a TV, why not spend a bit more on a good soundbar, at the very least? So, should you buy this TV? Well, maybe you should wait until they've ironed out its bugs. We expect they'll make firmware updates to fix the TV's thermal throttling issues and some of its other bugs. The TV will be in a better state in a few months. By then, we'll also know if the One Connect box on the S95D shows the same worrying issues it had on the S95C. So at this point, it's better to just wait it out. Most people who are shopping for a TV at this price point should opt for the S90D. This makes the S95D more of a luxury product for those with deep pockets, or for those who really want the completely flat back with the external One Connect box. And of course, there's the issue of the screen coating. You've seen the videos and the images and the reviews, so you can make up your mind about it. Overall, it works fine, but it doesn't make the TV look very OLED-like in heavy glare scenarios. At the time of this video, last year's Samsung S90C is still available, which is the best deal of the three. If you're a big movie fan, Sony and LG have better options for you. The Sony A95L 2023's best TV is still the king of image processing. However, this year's LG G4 is an outstanding product with full DTS and Dolby Vision support, and its image processing is pretty good. The LG G3 is also better for movies, and it's still available, so that's a better choice if you want to save some money. That's all we have to say about the Samsung S95D OLED. If you want a more detailed write-up on the TV, check out our written review. The link is in the description below. Until next time, I'm Abby from Rtings.com, where we help you find the best product for your needs. Hopefully, you can find a happy medium between reducing stutter without any motion archer. Yep. Yep.
I really can't stay.
Yeah, that's what that was. It was there. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.